Hi there, I'm Pastor John from New Life Assembly. We're continuing with our daily devotional in the Song of Solomon, and we're going to finish chapter 3 today. Let's take a look at verses 6 through the end of the chapter, verse 11. Song of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 6. The male is speaking here. What is that coming up from the wilderness, like columns of smoke, perfumed with myrrh and frankincense, with all the fragrant powders of a merchant? Behold, it is the litter of Solomon. Around it are 60 mighty men, some of the mighty men of Israel, all of them wearing swords, and expert in war, each with his sword at his thigh, against terror by night. King Solomon made himself a carriage from the wood of Lebanon. He made its posts of silver, its back of gold, its seat of purple. Its interior was inlaid with love by the daughters of Jerusalem. Go out, O daughters of Zion, and look upon King Solomon with the crown with which his mother crowned him on the day of his wedding, on the day of the gladness of his heart. All right, chapter 3, we have finally gotten to the wedding. It has taken all this time. We've seen the courting of Shulamith and Solomon, and we've seen how they're interacting with one another. We've seen the grave dangers of not waiting for love at the proper time, and they have not succumbed to those passions and those urges, but they have warned about them throughout the book so far. Well, here is the beginning of the wedding ceremony. And some scholars have wrongly attributed this to the woman speaking about Solomon, because Solomon is named by name in this whole section about 4 times. You know, it's the litter of Solomon, it's Solomon's crown. So we see throughout there that some would have good reason to think it's Solomon. But in the original language, the pronouns, he, she, it, those are designated by gender. And when we start out in verse 6, where it says, what is that coming up from the wilderness, the that there is feminine, not masculine. And it would have been masculine for the carriage or the litter. So we have the man, Solomon, speaking about his wife-to-be, riding up in his carriage. That's exactly what the picture is here. And it is the picture of her coming out of the desert into Jerusalem. She's riding in for the wedding. And just like today, where the brides dress with beautiful dresses and perfume themselves and wear makeup and have flowers and jewelry and all of these wonderful things to enhance their beauty, so also it was like that way back when, in ancient times. It's always been that way. You see, all of these different things, the litter, or the chariot as it's being described here, all of the gold and the silver and the purple, and all of that is to show 2 things. One, the extreme wealth of Solomon. This is during the golden age of Israel. So this guy is wealthy like nobody's business. But not only that, it's really to show that the woman is already beautiful all on her own. And everything around her is made more beautiful by her presence in it. And so Solomon is not impressed with what he sees coming at him because it's laid with silver and gold and it has purple, the color of royalty. And that's not what he's interested in. He's interested in the person riding in the chariot, and that is Shulamith. And so he is excited not because his priceless chariot awaits and is coming toward him and the wedding is happening. He's more excited about the person that's coming in the chariot. And so also I hear it so many times from all these different guys who are standing up there at the altar, and the bride begins to walk down the aisle and they're awestruck. And it's the most beautiful day of that woman's life, the day that she gets married. Most women plan this thing from childhood, to be ready to get married and to be excited about marriage. And so It usually just dumbfounds most of my friends whenever they're waiting at the altar for their future spouse to be walking down, and some of them have locked their knees and created quite a scene, which is kind of funny. But it's because they just can't take it, the beauty in that moment. And the key to the marriage afterward, as we'll be seeing throughout the rest of this book, the key is that your wife never changes in that beautiful state. It's not that you remember her back in the past, and when an argument happens, you say, you used to be beautiful whenever you were at her. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that. Because every woman needs to be considered and told and retold and retold, and I couldn't say it enough, retold, how beautiful she is every moment of every day. And it's not just because women tend to be insecure or anything like that. I don't think that most of them do tend to be insecure. But they need to hear that, and they need to hear it from their husband. What they don't need to hear it from is some other guy. They need to hear it from you on a regular basis. And this is exactly what Solomon's doing. He is admiring not the carriage, because he built the carriage. The carriage is his. He's seen that before. What he's admiring is the woman dressed in beauty with fragrances and frankincense and myrrh, all these different expensive perfumes that she's got on. She's coming to her wedding. She's ready. She's beautiful. And everyone around her, he starts focusing on how he's protected her and how he's keeping her for that moment of the actual wedding. And he's talking about the men that are guarding her. Usually in Israel, the king would have a retinue of about 30 mighty men. Well, here we see there's 60. He's doubled the guard because she is so precious to him. And just like at the beginning of marriage, as a husband vows to protect and to love his wife, so also that needs to be throughout your whole life. That needs to be a focal point of your marriage. That you as husband are providing for and protecting your wife no matter what. Sometimes she's going to need physical protection, and most of us guys are, we're big buff guys. We can do that. But sometimes she's going to need emotional protection. She's going to need you to make sure that nobody hurts her. And those are different kinds of protection that us men are not so familiar with. We don't pick up on emotional and relational situations as easily. And I think it's something that will take the rest of your life to study and to be able to pick up on those cues and on those instances. And so here we have, finally, at the end of chapter 3 and in the beginning of chapter 4, which we'll see tomorrow, we finally have the wedding. This is the procession. The bride is coming. The groom is waiting. It's just like our processions today. And the daughters of Jerusalem are surrounding Shulamith. They're coming, and King Solomon proclaims, as he sees how he has protected and provided this place this for her to sit, for her to come into the wedding. He is now telling the daughters of Jerusalem in verses 10 and 11 to look upon him and his wife in their moment of their love, in the moment of their wedding. He's wearing a crown. And this is not the crown of the king who rules. This is the crown of the king who is happy to be wedded to his bride. And so he's calling the women, and he's calling everybody really to celebrate this day with them. Your marriage should be one of the happiest days of your life, but the happiness should not stop there. If you work on your marriage on a regular basis after you get married, after that wedding day, and you build your relationship in intimacy and in love and friendship, that same glorious day can happen more than once in your marriage. It can happen throughout your marriage, and it can be one of those mountaintops that you can rest on and say, hey, we love being together. This is great. And so as we look at Shulamith and Solomon as they get married, and we see Solomon just admiring not his own handiwork, not his own stuff, but the woman that is within that carriage. I asked the guys to focus and remember that day. Remember that day that you got married, and remember what your wife looked like coming down that aisle. What could you say and what could you do for her today that would make her feel the way that she felt that day? Just some helpful biblical advice to all the guys, and hope that helps you. Have a blessed day.